This fall, Washington voters will decide the future of the state by voting yes on November's ballot initiatives. Today we're talking about I-2117, repealing the hidden gas tax and saving Washingtonians billions of dollars on energy. Washington state is beautiful. There aren't many places on Earth with the natural wonder we step into every day. We want to protect our environment and encourage programs that enhance our state's renewable energy sources. And that's what Jay Inslee said would happen with the Climate Commitment Act, while having a, quote, minimal impact, if any. Pennies. We're talking about pennies on Washington's workers and families. The reality? When the Climate Commitment Act, also known as the CCA, took effect last year, Washington had the highest gas prices in the nation, and we suffered a huge increase in what it costs to heat and cool our homes and to cook our food. At the same time, the benefits Inslee said would come never materialized. So how did we get here? In 2021, the Washington State Legislature passed Jay Inslee's signature climate policy, the Climate Commitment Act. The CCA established a program to reduce carbon emissions through a carbon emission cap. The program continues lowering that cap each year to achieve the greenhouse gas limits set in state law. Through the program, companies selling fuel that release carbon when burned, like gasoline and propane, are forced to buy allowances or credits to cover those emissions. These credits are auctioned off by the state, and the state collects the revenue. The money would then be reinvested to help reduce carbon emissions across the state. Inslee laid out clear climate goals and promised a website to track progress against those goals, bringing real transparency to the effort. In July 2022, Jay Inslee repeated his promise that the CCA would cost people pennies, and that because of the CCA, gas prices may be even lower. Governor Inslee explained how these lower prices, combined with the programs to reduce carbon, would help schools, workers, families, and more. To recap, Governor Inslee sold us on the idea that the CCA would lower the price of gas, fund new programs to reduce carbon emissions, and provide real transparency on climate goals. The program began on January 1st, 2023, and the first emissions allowance auction was held on February 28, 2023. That's when it all went off the rails. 90 days after that first carbon auction, Washington state had the highest gas prices in the nation. Reports varied, but the price went up between 43 and 53 cents per gallon of gas. But honestly, who could have seen that coming? Well, his own team. In fact, in 2014, Jay Inslee's top climate policy advisor projected that a cap-and-trade system, like the Climate Commitment Act, would increase gas prices by 44 cents per gallon. Inslee also could have listened to his own economist in 2023 when he told the governor that the CCA would increase the cost of gas by 50 cents. But instead of listening to him, Inslee forced him out of the administration. This is in addition to the numerous other studies done ahead of time predicting gas prices would increase by about 43 cents per gallon. Why did everyone besides Jay Inslee seem to know that the CCA carbon auctions would increase gas prices? Because carbon auctions are designed to increase gas prices. Every year, the supply goes down and the price goes up. So just drive less or buy a Tesla. The problem with that is research shows gas prices are extremely inelastic. In other words, the cost of gas has to go way up before people will drive less, because most people are driving for necessity and not for fun. For people who live close to work or are fortunate enough to be able to afford an electric vehicle, this doesn't seem to have much of an impact. But all of this amounts to the most regressive tax in state history. While gas prices have been the topic of most CCA conversations, the program's caused more than just an increase at the pump. Everything you buy at the store, from clothes to food, has become more expensive because everything gets to that store or your front door on a truck. Across Washington, the cost to cook our food and heat and cool our homes has skyrocketed 40% since the program passed. Check your energy bill from 2022 and compare it to the one from this year. The difference is staggering. Why didn't we know? Puget Sound Energy has been required by Attorney General Bob Ferguson to hide the true increase in energy costs from voters. They're legally restricted from listing out the CCA cost as a line item. So Washingtonians have experienced significant energy cost increases without knowing why. Not only did the CCA increase gas prices, but Jay Inslee knew it would for years. The money from cap and trade was supposed to be invested in carbon-reducing technology and programs, except that's not where the money's going. Here's a few fun facts about how the hidden gas tax money is actually being spent. More money is spent on government planning and new government staff than on salmon recovery. More is spent on bike lanes than fixing dangerous roads and bridges. More money is spent on permitting and writing strategy plans than on reducing the risk of catastrophic wildfire. While low-income workers face higher gas and food costs, many of the subsidies for electric vehicle charging, rooftop solar panels, and bike lanes go straight to the wealthy. Too much of the money is being given to political special interests rather than being spent on actual projects. What has all this spending accomplished? I'm glad you asked. Governor Inslee touted a website that would allow the public to easily track the CCA and how it was performing against the goals laid out. But the CCA was underperforming against the goal so badly that the Inslee administration unceremoniously took the website down and claimed they were reworking it. So they can't fix the website, but they can fix global climate change? Washington State is missing nearly all of its climate goals, and here are just a few examples. Carbon emissions are up. In 2019, the most recent data available, the state's greenhouse gas emissions rose 6.9% from the prior year. Greenhouse gas emissions from transportation are up 5% from the state's goal and overall 3% from 2018. The state wants to make all cars on the road electric by 2035, but it's so far behind on the goal that it will likely shift expectations again soon. Part of the reason it's nearly impossible to move the needle on carbon emissions is because the CCA caps oil companies based on the amount of gas they can sell, not on the amount they produce. This means that gasoline purchased outside of the state is unregulated, resulting in unregulated CO2 emissions within the state's boundaries. In order to meet Olympia's climate goals, the state would have to cut carbon emissions to the equivalent of 2 COVID pandemics every 3 years. But based on the fact that no one's rushing to get back to more at-home workouts or virtual happy hours, it seems like those goals aren't going to be hit. Washington State has missed every one of its climate goals, and the same politicians who have failed for more than a decade promise more taxes, bureaucracy, and regulation will work. Let's check back in on the scorecard. Governor Inslee sold us on the idea that the CCA would lower the price of gas, fund new programs to reduce carbon emissions, and provide real transparency on climate goals. One thing we hear all the time is, so what? We have to do something. We agree, but we need to do something that works. Pretending something is working so we can feel good and go about our day will not keep our air clean, our water clear, or our soil healthy. We cannot allow this broken program to continue being funded on the backs of those who can afford it the least. No matter how well-intentioned, the CCA is not working for Washington State. This November, let's repeal the hidden gas tax and inflated energy bills. Vote yes, pay less with I-2117. Stop the hidden gas tax, and let's fix what's broken.